Hello, and welcome back to Conquering Finale. My name is Jason Lafredo, and once again, we are dealing with staff tool strategies. We are still in the staff attributes portion of the staff tool strategies tutorials, but today, I think this is the last video, we're talking about global staff attributes plugin, which is incredibly important, so I'm glad you've joined me for this. And where do we find that? We go to plugins, scoring and arranging, and about halfway down, we see global staff attributes. Now, this is a plugin that comes in with Finale, so this is not a third-party plugin. You will definitely have this on your system. And when you open this, you get this sort of mass change type of window. And in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see all of your staffs. And if you have nothing selected in the score, then all of the staffs will be selected in this window. But you can select any staff that you want. You can select the flute, the English horn here. You can also select multiples by selecting one, pressing Shift, and that will add a few more. Or if you click all the way down here in bassoon, it will add all of the staffs between that selection, so you can choose certain staffs. You can also choose them non-contiguously, so if you select the flute here and hold down the command key, you can select the oboe, the clarinet over here, the bassoon, so you don't have to, they don't all have to be right next to each other. The other way that you can manipulate the selection up here is actually if you have staff selected in the score already. So I've got flute 1 through oboe selected there, and then open the plugin, Global Staff Attributes. It will pre-select those 3 staffs for me just like that. So that's another way to suppress the selection of the staffs up here. Now, the way this works is that whichever staff is selected here in the upper left-hand corner, all of the options, items to display, all of this stuff, this will be set up exactly how that staff is set up in the score. And there may be some differences between staffs. So between the flute 1 and 2, you can see there's a couple things that got unchecked, measure numbers and endings and text repeats, right? And so you can go through here and every staff will be, a lot of them will be the same, but some of them will be different depending on where they are in the score, how the groups are set up and everything. If you select multiple staffs, so let's say I select both the flutes here, now those two options, endings and text repeats and measure numbers in the items to display section, were set up differently between the flutes. So now instead of getting a check mark or an empty box, I'm getting a minus sign. Now, if you're somewhat familiar with the way that these mass change windows work in Finale, is that when you have something like this selected and there's a minus sign, it means that any other changes that you make anywhere else, if you leave that a minus sign, then it's going to leave that aspect alone per staff. So in the case of flute 1, this will be checked, and in the case of flute 2, it will be unchecked. I can purposefully uncheck this or check this, and what that will do is it will definitely uncheck it for both flutes or definitely check it for both flutes. And again, if I leave it as the minus sign, then no change is going to happen from the way they originally are, if that makes sense. And so obviously you will only see these minus signs in these boxes if you have multiple staffs selected. You will never see a minus sign with just a single staff selected because it's trying to tell you exactly what settings are there, all right? So the types of changes that we can make with this global staff attributes window, obviously you can see all of the options here can be changed, including things like display rests in empty measures. So this is a great way if you just select all and you don't want to display these rests in empty measures to create sort of a blank score for your orchestrator or something. Just go into the global staff attributes, select everything, deselect display rests in empty measures, and just like that, all of the default whole rests will go away. So that's one way to do that. Let's go back here. So we can do that with any of the options, any of the items to display. You'll notice that independent elements from staff attributes don't exist in the global staff attributes. I presume they don't think you're ever going to want to make a global change for an independent element. And also some of the appearance options are not here, like the note shapes and things of that nature. It's really just mostly allowing us to change the options and the items to display, plus actually the staff name font. So we can choose, for these 3 staffs, we can choose to change the font to something completely different, change the size, boldface it or something, and we can actually change the font for those 3 staffs to something else. Again, or just change it for all of the fonts if I had all of those staff selected. Let's go back and undo that. Go back to our Global Staff Attributes plugin. However, we cannot change the position of the staff names, and the reason for that is there's actually sort of another utility that does that for us anyway, which I will talk about later in this series. So there's kind of no reason for that in the global staff attributes plugin here. So I gave you sort of one practical use for this. Again, you just select all, and then uncheck display rest and empty measures to give your orchestrator a blank score to work in. A couple other nifty ways to do this is that if you remember in my video on time signatures about creating large time signatures, one of the things you need to do is not show time signatures in most of the staffs except for specific ones. So the way you might end up doing that is sort of just select all here and then deselect certain ones like English horn. Let's deselect trumpet 1. Let's deselect viola, maybe the timpani part here. The deselected ones are where I'm going to want to show the time signatures. So I'm only making changes to the other ones, and now that I have these selected, what I can do is just uncheck time signature and score, and then that will show that time signature only in those deselected portions from the global staff attributes. And then from here, you can, this was video 6.4, you can check out how to make these time signatures larger. But that's a quick way to do that. Same thing applies to measure numbers. I talked a lot about measure numbers in the measure number matrix video, where there's a thing where you sometimes have to deselect the measure numbers from certain staffs. So this would be another way to do that. Just select the staffs that you don't want to see the measure numbers in, and either check that or deselect it depending on how you're trying to set that up. That was video 19A-6. I think I talked about that a little bit. In addition to the staff attributes, this actually will give us some options for group attributes as well. And so if we go down to this bottom section, it's sort of the same idea. You can select different groups or select multiple groups, the same way, Shift, Command, selecting groups like that. And from here, we have a couple of options, not a ton. We can change the group name font in the same way that we change the staff name font. Just choose another font. So actually, if you're changing the staff name font, the thing to do is maybe to also change the group name font down here so that they match. Incidentally, when you press OK after you've made changes to both the staff and the group name font, it will do both of these things all at once if you're making changes either on the top half for the staff or on the bottom half for the groups. But besides the group name font, the only other two things that we can do is either show the bracket if group contains only one staff, or show or not show the group name. So those are really the only two options available other than the group name font setting for the group attributes. So a couple of options for groups, a lot of options for the staff attributes. But this, this window is an important one. It allows you to make mass changes to the staff attributes for most of the options that are available in the original staff attributes window. All right, so that's how it works. It's a nifty little tool, so be aware of it and know how to use it, because it will save you a lot of time sometimes. All right, so I think that covers it for staff attributes. The next section I'm going to do is on staff styles, so come back for that. We're going to start talking about staff styles, which is another important part of the staff tool. All right, so once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. My name is Jason, and I will see you soon on the next video.